14,000 years ago, Maine was under a sheet of ice, just as much of Antarctica is today. The research work that's going on at Reedy Glacier and elsewhere in Antarctica helps us to witness in real time the processes that made the Maine landscape what it is today.
Looking at Reedy Glacier from a glacial geologist point of view really does give us insight into what's happened elsewhere in the world, and especially here in Maine. If you look in those parts of Maine where it's more rugged, say Acadia, and you'll see the granite hills very scoured off by ice and covered in these perched erratic boulders. And down there in the valleys are moraine ridges, and the whole island is covered in this subglacial drift. The boulders and the sand and the soils and so forth.
Since Antarctica is free from vegetation, glacial moraines are easy to observe. A moraine is a ridge of rock and sand deposited at the edge of a glacier as it retreats or melts. At Reedy Glacier, researchers mapped the locations of moraines to figure out how the glacier and the West Antarctic ice sheet has changed over time. In Acadia, the glacier is long gone, but the moraines are still there and can be mapped to help us understand how the glacier melted 14,000 years ago. Erratics are large rocks carried in the glacial ice and dropped in place when the ice melted. The exposure age of these boulders and their position in relation to the present-day ice provide clues about when and how quickly Reedy Glacier melted. Erratics in Acadia, such as Bubble Rock, provide similar clues to help us understand the nature of the ice sheet that covered Maine thousands of years ago. Ancient cobbled beaches, like those formed along the shorelines of Reedy Glacier, and, much like today's beaches at Schoodic and Seawall in Acadia, are found high on forested slopes in Acadia National Park, indicating where ancient shorelines of ice and the sea once stood. In short, from scratches only a few inches long on rocks to the carving out of the huge Somes Sound by ice a mile thick, glacial features small and large abound throughout Acadia National Park and throughout Maine's entire landscape. Researchers at the University of Maine have used what we've learned about glaciers in Antarctica, as well as the leftover geologic signs in Acadia and other parts of Maine, to decipher the history of glacial activity in the state, and have compressed that history into a map of Maine's Ice Age trail that shows how glacial activity thousands of years ago made the Maine landscape we live in today.
Seeing it firsthand at Reedy Glacier, seeing those moraines form along the side of the ice, really gives me personal insight into how Acadia would have looked during the last ice age.